Welcome, everyone, to Heads Together. I'm Bonnie Low-Kramen, and I am your host, along with my terrific assistant. Hello, Jennifer Wilner.
Hello, Bonnie.
Good to see you, as always. We are here on this Wednesday, March 31st. This is the final show of Women's History Month. And when I put my mind to, who did we want to help us close out this very special month? It came to me pretty quickly that it would be Libby Moore. Libby Moore, who is the former assistant chief of staff to Oprah Winfrey. Libby and I go way back, more than 20 years, and I'm just so delighted to have her here. But before I introduce her formally, I want to say welcome to Beth. Welcome to the show, Beth, from Frederick, Maryland. We are welcoming our viewers from all over the world into Heads Together to help us close out Women's History Month. You know, we get people from all aspects of the workplace in our show, but mainly executive assistants. And the profession of assistants is 95 to 98% female, which is reason enough to focus on Women's History Month and to highlight some incredible women. Jen, what's your take on this very special month and being a woman in this workplace yourself?
Yeah, I feel very strongly that we need to continue the conversation and that it shouldn't just be Women's History Month, but let's keep up the conversation next month and the following month.
Absolutely.
There's no collaboration, not competition.
There you go.
We have to work together, and it's just so much easier when we work together as a part.
And so much more fun too.
Yes.
Right? It's so much more fun. So welcome to all of our viewers from all over the world. Hi, Tess and Denise and Connie. Welcome. Oh my gosh, we've got Greece in the house and the United Kingdom. Fantastic. You all know that Libby Moore is our guest today. No secrets here. Please put your comments and questions in the chat. This is going to be a special episode of Heads Together. Libby has cleared her calendar for the next hour. So you can ask her anything, ask me anything regarding women in the workplace and whatever else comes up, because any of you who've heard Libby know that she has a lot to say about many issues and subjects. So without further ado, I want to just reiterate to welcome everyone here to the show as we're talking, Libby and me. If you have comments, questions, please put them in the chat, and Jen is going to help us moderate them, and Libby and I will get to as many of your questions as possible in this next hour. So isn't that great? We have her for a whole hour. Yay! All right. Let me jump in and introduce my dear friend, Libby Moore, who, as I said, I know for more than 20 years through our mutual membership in New York Celebrity Assistants, the organization I helped co-found, and Libby became a member pretty quickly after we first started. The organization is now 24 years old, so it's been quite the journey. And Libby and I both have very personal experience with it. I met Libby when she started her career as a comedy writer. She wanted to be a comedy writer. She became a celebrity assistant first for the Maury Povich, the talk show host. Mm-hmm. And then she went to work for Jan Wenner, the publisher of Rolling Stone magazine. And then the fateful time when she interviewed and got the job as the chief of staff to Oprah Winfrey, one of the people in the world, not only one of the most famous people in the world, but someone who is known to be such an advocate, a strong advocate for women. And that was just an extraordinary circumstance. Now, Libby and I left Olympia and and Libby left Oprah within a month of each other back in 2011. I don't know, Libby, you'll have to correct me if it's 2010 or 2011, but it was like within a month, and we both had a very shared experience about that. Libby is now living in Vancouver, Canada, which is where she's coming to us from today, where she lives with her wife. She is an executive coach, and she is an international speaker. We have traveled the world together as well, which is so fun to be able to do this. Libby is committed to bringing love into the workplace. She has begun a company called Lovex Global. She's going to tell us more about it. So much more to say about Libby Moore. Let's bring her in. Welcome, virtual welcome to Libby Moore.
Hi. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Jen. So happy to be here with you all. And I have to give a special shout out to, because you mentioned Beth from Frederick, Maryland, Beth Tucker. Hello, Beth. I grew up in Maryland. I'm from the Eastern Shore of Maryland, a little town called Berlin. So I have to give a big shout out to Maryland peeps.
Got to do it. Absolutely got to do it. So before we jump into some meatier questions, I have been loving these rapid fire questions that James Lipton started on his show when he interviews people. So let's just jump in. You game? Okay. You cool?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Gaga or Billie Eilish?
Gaga, all the way.
Oh, okay. Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Starbucks.
Knew I loved you. Favorite TV show as a child?
Ooh, the Mike Douglas show. I loved it. Do you remember the Mike Douglas show?
I totally remember the Mike Douglas show. So you kind of had an affinity for, like, what was it about him or the show?
I think growing up in this little town in Maryland, population 3,000, cornfield in our backyard, I think he opened up my worldview. Remember, he had on the actresses and actors, and he'd go to a vacation home in Hawaii, and I just was fascinated by that whole world.
And he was never mean-spirited.
No, that's a good thing.
He was kind. I'll bet that appealed to you as well.
Very much so.
Favorite vacation spot?
Ooh, I'd have to say Cape Town, South Africa. My wife is from there. So even it's going to see family and friends, but that's it right now, Cape Town, South Africa.
How many times have you been there?
Well, with work, with Oprah, I went there. It was either 23 or 24 times.
Yes, you know it really well.
Well, specifically Johannesburg, because the Winfrey Leadership Academy for girls is about 45 minutes outside of Joburg. So we would fly in and out of there. I think we went 3 times a year when she was building the school. And then once it was built, we would go. So once I left, and you were correct, 2011. My last day was December 31st, 2011. I thought, you know what? I think I'm done. South Africa, 24 trips here. It's good. And then many years later, I end up falling in love with someone from where? South Africa. And so anyway, it's kind of interesting. It's meant to be in my life.
But what part of the planet did you meet your wife in?
Met in New York City. I was living in New York City. She was living in Cape Town at the time. And we met through a mutual friend. It wasn't even a setup. It was just, I invited someone, he brought her along, and
Amazing. Yeah. And you've been to Cape Town now many times, or?
Many times, yes.
Many times, yes.
Her family and friends still.
Incredible place. Favorite dessert?
Ooh, God, that's a hard one. I would say a vegan, it's vegan sea salt ice cream. It's not ice cream. It's vegan. It's by soy, I think. It's like
are you
sea salt?
Say that again. Sorry.
Caramel sea salt vegan ice cream.
And are you a vegan?
I am. Yeah.
Wow. I'm not sure I knew that about you. Okay. If you could only have one book on a desert island, what would it be?
It would be Discover the Power Within by Eric Butterworth.
Okay. Everybody taking notes.
That was recommended to me by Oprah when I was working with her. She said it changed her perspective on religion and spirituality, and it certainly did the same for me. It really opens up your mind.
Interesting. Okay. Favorite app on your phone?
It's a new app that I'm actually an advisor on called 59. It's a breathing app. I'm all about the breathing, deep breath, slow exhale.
Yeah. Awesome. Favorite movie?
Earthlings, I would have to say, for the impact. Earthlings is a documentary, which is the movie that made me go vegan. I watched it. I was bawling like a baby. And from that moment forward, it was like, I'm done.
Wow. How long ago did you watch that?
That was, it'll be 4 years ago in May.
Oh my goodness. You even remember.
Crying like a baby. I mean, it takes me a lot. I can cry, but I'm not like a crier. Couldn't believe it. Earthlings.com.
Oh, I'm like, that's on the list now.
Mm-hmm.
What's your least favorite sound?
Heavy metal music.
Oh. Favorite beverage?
Ooh, that's a good one. I know I'm supposed to be fast answering. God, I would have to say, I'm really stuck on this one. That's interesting. A smoothie. Okay. Or if I'm having fun, it's a Manhattan.
And okay. Now it's when you're out at a bar with Libby. Yeah. What's the last thing you binge watched?
Schitt's Creek. And now my wife and I are watching it a second time around. So we had space in between when we watched the whole series. And then we said, we should go back and watch that again. So we started watching it again. I just love it.
I totally love it as well. Completely agree. And have you checked out Ted Lasso with Jason Sudeikis?
No. Okay.
Hilarious and so kind and sweet and so damn funny.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. And then last question, what's the thing that's not on your LinkedIn profile that people would never guess about you?
Oh, that's a really good one. I'm very, I battle with insecurity at times. Actually, the first thing that popped up was funny. I'm really funny. But that is on there because I did try that for a while. But then I thought, well, what's the next thing? I should be super vulnerable and say that even though I'm a coach and I do this at times, I battle with insecurity or low self-worth. So
interesting.
Yeah.
But the question I should have asked you was, and I'm going to ask you right now.
Okay.
Do you watch stand-up? I mean, I know you love comedy.
No.
You don't.
Do you have any suggestions?
For a long time, I've been a big fan of Kathleen Madigan. She's of our age-ish, and she's like from Midwest Ohio or Cleveland or something,
Yeah.
Was I thought Cleveland is in Ohio. I just find her humor, really just, it's situational humor.
I'm going to check her out. I also want to add, because this person just popped up and I've seen her on Instagram, Fortune. I don't know her last name, Feinmeister. She's hysterical.
That's quite his name.
Her first name is Fortune. She's been on,
okay.
Oh God. Anyway, she's good. Who's the blonde who's really outspoken? I saw
Amy Schumer?
No, the other one, not Kelsey.
Not Chelsea Handler.
Chelsea Handler, yeah. So she used to be one of the comedians on Chelsea's show.
Oh, okay.
She's hysterical.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Excellent. Claudia is helping us. Feinster.
Yes. Thank you, Claudia. Yes. Feinster. Fortune. Oh, she's so good. She makes me laugh out loud.
That's funny. I had a feeling, though, you wanted to be a comedy writer, and I just had a feeling that somehow you don't watch it now. But
I don't even watch TV. I haven't read the news since 2016. We could go on and on. I know what's happening, but that's like a whole nother conversation. But I really stopped watching TV and reading the news. I mean, probably stopped watching TV earlier than that. But yeah, we watch stuff on Netflix or.
Got it.
Another conversation.
Sylvia, thanks, Sylvia. I love these questions because, people feel like they know Libby a little. They know certain things about Libby, but my favorite one is favorite movie because I think that tells me a lot about where somebody's at. So let me ask you about your time with Oprah. Here we are at the end of Women's History Month, and where we worked in a profession that was so dominated by females, it still is, right, Lib?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, during your 11 years with Oprah, did she have to assert herself as a woman? Like, how did the whole female sensibility show up on a day in, day out basis in your work as chief of staff? Is that, is anything resonating that happened during your time with her?
Well, I would say that, oh, that's interesting. I'm hearing feedback. Can you hear feedback?
If you turn down I'll turn down my volume a little. Sometimes that helps.
Does this sound okay now? Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Let's give it a shot.
Okay, here we go. So with her, it's interesting because I never felt like she was asserting herself as a woman. I felt like she was being herself. And I think that's a really important distinction because her whole thing is one of the many, many, many things that I learned working with her and observing her was be yourself. Be yourself. Be your authentic self. That's kind of a buzzword these days. It's truly, and what I walked away with, having been a former people pleaser and someone that still works on it, like big time people pleaser. I think that's one of the reasons I went into that line of work, is peeling back the layers of who am I? Who am I today? Who I am today is going to be a little different than who I am tomorrow. So who am I really? So be yourself with all people at all times in all situations. That's what I saw her do. And that was incredibly powerful. Yeah. So it wasn't like she had to assert like, I am Oprah or I'm a woman. She just is who she is. And because she knows who she is and is very comfortable in her skin and comfortable in that energy, it's a very powerful energy. It almost transcends, are you male or female? She is just very comfortable in her skin and who she is and how she feels. And she feels comfortable saying what she feels. This just popped into my head. I remember being at one of the first board meetings that I said to her in the beginning, do you mind if I sit in on your board meetings? Because it's important that I know what's going on in your life. She said, absolutely, you should sit in on. So I would sit in on these board meetings. And I remember someone presenting something to her and she was listening, listening. And then when they finished, she said, okay, now will you just break it down, like just say it in regular languaging, like this whole corporate speak of like the wheelhouse and the this and that, all that corporate terminology that people just start using and then everyone uses. She's like, I just want you to tell me what's going on. Like cut out all the corporate speak and just tell me what's going on. So even seeing her say that, and it was very respectful. She's seeing what we're all thinking. Like people practically talk in acronyms right now. If you don't know the acronym, then you're just out of the loop. So she's just wildly comfortable with herself. And that energy, whether it's you, me, Oprah, anyone on this call, doesn't matter what your title is or who you are, when you are comfortable and you walk into any space with that energy, that is a very powerful energy.
Yeah. So did she help you with any insecurity as you were with her? 11 years is quite a ride. Mm-hmm. I thank you for admitting that, like so many of us, we have times of insecurity. Was she helpful with that? Did she help you see yourself?
I would say yes. And one of the ways, it wasn't overt, really. Again, I have to say, just being by her side for over a decade, it was like I felt like a sponge absorbing what I was learning from her and seeing how she would operate and handle people and handle herself and seeing her own vulnerabilities, and she's very open and honest about that. That's why I believe one of the reasons her show did so well, because she wasn't trying to be perfect and act like she was perfect. She was actually sharing the highs and lows of her life on TV in 144 countries around the world, Monday through Friday. So she was very, I don't know how comfortable it was at times, but she would share vulnerabilities. And people could relate to that. And that's one of the reasons why I believe she became so popular. So I remember in the second week of working with her, we were flying on her plane from Chicago to South Carolina, I think, to do an O Magazine photo shoot where she was going to be, shot for the cover. And we were having dinner. she said, come sit with me in the back, and we were having dinner. And my mind is blowing, by the way. I'm telling this story like it's nothing, but still at 55 years old, I can remember that time and think, that's crazy. How did I end up there? So I'd never been. I remember turning around as we were taking off, and I said, you know, and on the plane, it was her and her bodyguard, makeup artist, hairstylist, you know, stylist, like she travels with her team. And I turned around and I said, this is so exciting. I've never been on a private plane before. And she even appreciated that, you know, that I was being so honest. It just like, wow, that's so nice. Now, you know, someone really appreciates this. And I did. It was just crazy to me. It was mind blowing. So
yeah.
We're having dinner, and she said, Libby, what do you want to get out of this job? And honestly, I hadn't even thought about that question. That's just not the kind of person that I am. I just went with my heart and my gut. And I said, well, I'd really like to find my voice and speak it. Because that is truly what came up for me when she asked that question. And she said, well, you're going to have a lot of time, plenty of time to do that. And that was it. We never discussed it again. But what I realized, and this was much clearer in hindsight, those 11 years, there were many times where she would say, Libby, what's your opinion? Or what do you think about this? And most of the time we were in alignment. We were very much in alignment on how we saw things. There were specifically, it was either 5 or 6 times in that chunk of time that we were like totally opposite, you know, and I was saying my opinion, she was saying hers. It was completely opposite. And I remember in one case in particular, I really thought to myself, oh my God, I am probably annoying her, or, you know, like she really, like the fact that I'm not agreeing with this might not be a good thing and I might get fired. And then I thought to myself, the thought that came up was, well, I came here saying I would do what's in her best interest. And I feel this isn't in her best interest. And I have to be true to myself in order to be true to her. And so if I get fired, I get fired, but I must stay in my truth.
Right.
And I did. And ultimately, and it was several years later, that truth, she said, oh, okay, now I get it. But that was 2 years that went by before it was, oh, now I get it. But I had to be true to myself and true to her. So that's a perfect example, I feel like, of how she helped me. So we always think it's going to be like a mentor being like, oh, don't do that, do this, or let me tell you how to say it. No, that the mentoring reel was when we were disagreeing. And I stuck to my truth. She gave me that opportunity, even though it was wildly uncomfortable.
Yeah. And when you hold to your guns, you feel empowered for the next time, don't you?
Yes.
It's cumulative.
Yes. And not only that, but it built trust between us. That is, I would say, one of the number one reasons why she trusts me to this day, because she knows no matter what, I will tell her the truth. So that's a great, great trust building for us. So not us as working team members, and now as friends, like that person I can trust. Yeah. And that's, to me, that's what.
Yeah. Olympia would say that it's only the people who love you who will tell you the truth.
That's right.
Who will, you know, the other people, they just like, they won't bother because it's a lot of work to tell somebody the truth.
Bonnie, I want to say, as you know, and most of us on the chat here, everyone tuning in right now, that's worked with someone that's high profile, or an ultra high net worth individual, or a high profile person, we see, as they're kind of that person, we see how their personality changes when they're around that person, and everyone's on their best behavior, and not everybody has the best intention, but you can feel it or see it, and they're like, but wait, but I don't see it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting position to be in.
Yeah. And I mean, in your case, I mean, my executive was famous, but yours was, you know, on a whole other scale. Did Oprah's energy and empathy influence you within the role?
100%. I want to speak to the energy first. I remember when I started, when I was interviewing there, and the director of HR said, when Oprah is in the building, you can feel it. it's like everyone's energy just amps up. And it's so true. If she was not there, it would be good. You're working at Harpo Production, the Oprah Winfrey show. It's all good. But when she was in the building, it's almost like her energy raised everybody's energy level.
Wow.
From a higher frequency, so to speak, a higher vibration. And she has boundless energy. So that you don't want to be the weak link, you want to match her. But I feel like if you're open to it, you will match that energy and hang there, as opposed to being down here in the lower vibe. And empathy, I just feel like her whole life is about empathy. That's who she is. And that can't help but to ripple off into everybody who works with her.
Yeah. Did she read you? Did she often, like size you up and say, hey, what's wrong? Or like, could she?
I think she didn't have to. We were pretty open. We were very open with each other about that. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So I want to switch to money for a minute, because in this theme of Women's History Month, we know that as women, there's a huge wage gap in the world. And there's one statistic that said if we keep going at this rate, women are not going to get to be equal with men for 200 years, and I don't have that kind of time. Yeah. And we need to fix this thing. So we have seen in our careers that there are double standards that exist between men and women, not only about money, but in other ways too, the power structures that exist in the world. I know you have a particular story about money you want to share. Women seem to have a different attitude in general towards money than men do. We're very, in the work I do, training assistants all over the world, I hear straight from women, and I was one of them, that our self-worth, our self-esteem, our self-confidence has a lot to do with our attitudes towards money. Want to talk about that a little bit?
I don't remember which story you're talking about specifically.
Oh, the one where Robert chased you down the street.
Oh, yes, right. I have so many money stories. Okay, so one, I just want to tell a story before that one.
Sure.
Which is when I was working at Rolling Stone. So I was a second assistant to Jan Wenner, and the first assistant, Mary McDonald O'Brien, who I absolutely love. And I believe
Me too. Have you been in touch with her?
Yes. Yeah. Oh God, I love her.
My love. It's been forever.
Wait, she works with Bruce Springsteen and Patty now. So she is phenomenal. And without her, I believe I never would have gotten that job with Oprah, because again, talking about modeling management behavior, she was an excellent model for me. I wanted to do so well for Mary. It wasn't even, it was more like, oh, I just want to shine for her. And she went to Catherine Gibbs Secretarial School. She was professionally trained. She had been working with Jan for, I think, 20 years when I came into the picture, if not more. And so we shared an office, and listening to her phone conversations, which is so unfortunate that people now can't do that because you're working from your own space at home or offsite somewhere. I would listen to her, and I'd see how she would handle guests and handle Jan. And all of that was training for me to then go be Oprah's chief of staff executive assistant. So whoever you're managing, it doesn't matter how many people, just know that you are modeling for them either good behavior or bad behavior. Yep. So even without saying it. So anyway, long story short, it was review time. I was 4 years into the job. I got my, 3%, which at the time, this is in October 2000. So 20 some years ago. And I was like, that's just not enough. And she said, look, I would pay you a lot of money. And she gave me a number, but we don't have that in the budget. And so I basically went home and worked out what the 3% raise was after taxes. And then I wrote out all my bills. Now, I'm not suggesting that people do this now. This was a long time ago. I was 34, but I wrote out all my bills, and it was like, I just want you to see, and I would like you to give this to Jan to show him exactly what I am taking home after taxes and what it comes down to a day. So basically it's like it's maybe buying a lunch for me, that 3%. And once that was taken to Jan, he said, oh my God, because, give her X amount of money. And I got this big raise. Now, soon after that, to bring me up to a proper level, soon after that, I got the job with Oprah. So I almost feel like energetically, the universe said, if you step up and take care of yourself in this situation and speak up for yourself, then we're going to give you something you can't even dream of right now, which is exactly what happened. So again, if, the worst that could have happened she would say, look, Jan said, I'm sorry, 3% is the max that we do. It's across the board. But I thought, well, I'm going to try to step out of that because I believe I deserve more. And
at age 34, that was amazing. Jen and I created a post last week for Equal Pay Day. And it's an idea that came to me years ago, and it is that women will make as much money as we have the nerve to say out loud.
Yes.
And you did.
Right.
You did. Now, I would love the idea of putting it in writing, and you quantified it.
Yes.
Sylvia's saying, what a great strategy. Yeah.
Thanks, Sylvia.
It is an interesting strategy. I'm not sure it would work with everybody, but you felt like it was worth a shot, and that's amazing. So I love this other story you were going to tell about. I invited Libby to speak at BTUA, at Be the Ultimate Assistant, in July of 2016. As a surprise guest speaker for our students. Some of them might be on the call right now. And as a gift, I gave Libby a gift card in an envelope. So I love
this story. So again, when I left Harpo, it was January 1st, 2012. I took a year off. I, did I'll call it now the Libby Moore Adventure Tour. I was traveling. It was really getting back to myself, blah, blah, blah. Ended up getting, at the end of that year, doing life coaching, got my life coaching certification, started coaching, was living in Seattle, LA, then moved back to New York. Now it is July 2016. And when I left the job, I had no debt, a 401k, great savings, like all good. And I thought, well, I'm going to invest in myself instead of taking on, because I had other job offers that came to me, but I thought instead of working for another company again, I'm going to try to go for it myself and create my own business. And I wasn't even sure what that would be, but I thought I'm going to try coaching, and I'm going to take the money that I have in savings and reinvest it back into myself, because I believe in myself more than I believe in anyone. So I'm going to go for it. I'm going to treat myself as a startup. I'm going to give myself 4 or 5 years without taking on like a full-time job to support me. Long story short, July 6, 2016, I woke up at 5 a.m. and something said, check your bank account. Now this is 5 a.m. I wake up, check your email. That's what it was. And I went to check my email, and Bank of America said, your account has dropped below $25. So my Amex bill had come in, and I think I then had, like, let's say negative $3,429 once the bill came in, and had reinvested all of my savings back into myself. Because I had that cushion, I wasn't so like hustling for, I was just like taking it easy, referrals, whatever, had maybe 2 or 3 coaching clients. So basically, and credit card debt, by the way. So and I started in that panic mode of, oh my God, this is the day I feared. It's what I hear people say, but I'll end up on the street, or what if I go through all my money, all that stuff. And I started to go in panic mode, and something in me, which I believe is God, source, universe, my higher self, inner intuition, whatever you want to call it, said, you know what to do. The longer you lay here, the worse it's going to get. You need to go brush your teeth. And you're going to look in the mirror and say, I love you. So I did the mirror work, Louise Hay. I love you, Libby. And what came into my head was, okay, God, let's turn this cruise ship around in a canal and show people how quickly we can do it. And I just started listening to my intuition, baby steps of the next thing to do, and then the next. And one was like, now you're going to sit down and meditate for 20 minutes. Now, after that, you're going to make coffee. Now you're going to take all the negative people off your calendar that are not clients. I texted people and said, hey, sorry, I got to reschedule that dinner. I'll let you know when I can put it back on. Immediately, I felt better getting rid of stuff that wasn't necessary, particular negative people. So I got into this hyper zone of positivity and I'm getting out of this, because there was also something in me when I left that job with Harpo that people kept saying, wow, how's it feel being retired? I think they just thought because Oprah has a lot of, I don't know, would give away like homes and cars and stuff, like, oh, you must be retired. It's like, I'm not retired. I'm going into my next phase of my career. So subconsciously, I almost feel like I thought I have to go through all of my money and go into debt to show people how you can bounce out of it quickly. And that if I can do it, anybody can do it. You know what I mean? It's like, because people were looking at me like, oh, you have all this money. What do you know about my struggle?
Mm-hmm.
I was the struggle was real in that moment. Well, cut to, I started slowly popping out of it. And within 5 days, one of my clients, who is the CEO of a startup in Silicon Valley, said, I love what you're doing with me. I want you to work with all 50 of my clients. I don't know how we're going to do it, her employees. So, and it wasn't like all of a sudden a big check. It was a lifeline that started coming in, like a regular stream of money. And that is how the cruise ship turned around. Cut to, I think it was that same week.
Yep.
It was BTUA in New York City. I go, I give my presentation, great response, loving talking to everyone, met Jen there for the first time, all that stuff. And there was a part of me that thought, like, no one in this, I feel like such the imposter syndrome. Like, here I am, I'm in this financial, not in a good place, but I know what I'm talking about is real. And when you apply it to your life and your work, it works. And so I leave, you were super gracious, everyone's amazing. And I'm walking down the street and I hear, Libby, Libby, Libby. And it's Robert, Bonnie's partner. And I turn around and I was like, hey, he said, Bonnie forgot to give this to you. And I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you. It was a card. And he goes back and I think I opened it on the subway on the way home. And it was this beautiful card from Bonnie and Vicky thanking me for being a part of it and a gift certificate. And I'm telling you, at that point, I literally said, thank you, God. Thank you. Because that gift certificate was saying to me, like, we see you, we value you, and things are turning around for you. And so, and it truly, and then that was like a breadcrumb that led to the next breadcrumb.
Yeah.
And that's how it turned around. That's the story that I want to share, because no matter what your financial situation is now, and now I'm in a much better place. And that was the turning point. So once you hit bottom, you don't just go, oh no, my sister is like, Lib, you don't need to be in a cardboard box on the street proving to people that you can bounce back from zero. Like, come on. I was like, yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah. But you know what? I love so many things about that story, not the least of which is that it happened at Be the Ultimate Assistant.
Yeah.
But, I hear all the time that, we have our imaginations do things to us. People assumed you had a lot of money because you worked for Oprah. People assume things about us that are not necessarily true at all. And honestly, I have found that all you have to do is scratch the surface of people, and they reveal that life is not perfect. If all you do is look at social media, you can think like people have these perfect lives and they're doing these amazing things. And actually, when you get to know them, you hear the story that their checking account is not there. And, it just isn't. So, thank you for sharing the story that what you see is not necessarily the reality. And I think about money, we all have so much baggage around that. Oh my gosh. I want to move on to another subject that's so important for women, and that you've been so wonderful and in public about coming out as gay at age 27. That it's a very dramatic story. Now you are married happily in Vancouver, and you have come through fire. As a gay woman in this workplace, what are your thoughts about what's happening in how can we support the LGBTQ communities? And, when you were working at Harpo, did you see that discrimination, that conflict in living color every day? Or can you give us some context about what you what you experienced and you know, what Oprah would do about it.
Yeah.
If she
So
saw.
at Harpo was pretty much one of the best places you could work on earth. I mean, really, hello. Let's begin with, you had me at Oprah. So one, who she is, what she was putting out in the world, the people that she would pull from all different parts of the country, the best of the best to come and work on this team. So that there was no discrimination. I mean, my God, I felt so wildly comfortable there for so many reasons. I want to go back to the Maury Povich show. You mentioned I came out at 27. So I knew I was gay my whole life. And I didn't realize when you're a kid, you don't really know what gay is. You just know you have a crush on maybe this person or that person. But I realized, oh, you know, when they would say dyke, faggot, lesbo, when I was in 5th grade, I realized, okay, I think I know what that means. And I think that's me. So apparently I should be quiet about this. And then you get into 6th, 7th grade and you're like, oh yeah, I should definitely be quiet about this. I mean, I'm 55. So that was a long time ago. But, you know, I just felt like growing up in a small conservative town, I didn't know any gay people. I thought this is like bad. The Bible says it's bad, all that stuff. So I just thought I'll go to my grave with the secret. And I almost did when I tried to end my life in a drunk driving accident when I was 21, right after college, graduation from college. So, and I survived, thank God. And I just, you would think after that I would come out, but I just probably thought, oh my God, what did I just try to do? And so by the time I got to New York and got this job as Maury Povich's personal assistant, I was 25. So I turned 27 and I guess I'd been with him for about a year and a half at this point. And the very last show he did of the season was called Coming Out Strong. And it was probably 4 or 5 lesbians, gay women on the panel, like had partners, professional. I identified with them. I went into his office and locked the door and watched the in-studio feed because I didn't want people to see me watching because I thought they would think I was gay. Well, I am gay, but I thought, you know, and I watched the show. And at the end of the show, I thought, wow, 95 to 98% of what those women just said, I felt my whole life. I am gay. Like I said it in my brain. I wouldn't even say those words, but that was the first time I said it. And then soon after that, I came out to my best friend. And then slowly, you know, I just thought it's time for me to come out. Yeah. The reason why that was easier at that point for me to say something to my best friend and family was because the executive producer was a gay out woman, lesbian. The executive in charge of production was out woman. There was another gay man who was a senior exec. It was just a non-issue at the Maury Povich show. He didn't care. No one cared. It was New York City. And I had never seen that before. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like people were walking around saying, oh, I'm gay. You know, it's just, they were just being themselves. Oh yeah, I'm a partner and whatever. That was the biggest education for me, to see that people could actually be themselves and go to work and be themselves and not have to hide. That's what opened my eyes. And that show that Maury did changed my life, saved my life probably. Right. So I came out soon after that and my whole life changed for the better. Not that it didn't go up and down because I'm a human being, but it just, I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to lie anymore. I mean, in college, I got up to 205 pounds. I was a size 20. Alcohol, food, numbing my feelings. Once I came out, the weight just slowly melted off of me. And, you know, my drinking normalized. So I have to say that there was no discrimination that, you know, at the Maury Povich show, it was an open environment. And same at Rolling Stone. I mean, it was just I think, like you said, we working in entertainment media, it's a much more open, accepting environment. And then getting to Oprah was just like the best place you could possibly work. So as far as discrimination for me, I've been wildly fortunate that I haven't had any that I'm aware of. Do I think that people in the past have talked behind my back or like, you know, she's gay? I'm sure of it, you know, but I don't know. I'm not focusing on that. I'm moving forward in who I am and where I'm headed, not what people are saying behind my back.
So what's your advice to those people hearing you right now who are struggling with that in the workplace? What would you say to them about how to move forward?
Well, I can only speak from my own experience, meaning as a gay person. And what I would do is, if you're not out, if that's what you're specifically speaking about, I would talk to someone that you trust and tell someone that you trust. Or, by the way, if you're on this and you haven't, reach out to me, talk to me. I would be happy to talk with you. You're not alone. Your life is going to get so much better. So it's really about telling someone that you trust and slowly coming out that.
That's
the
awesome.
way. And then
Jen is putting into the chat Libby's website, LibbyMoore.com,
yes,
and her LinkedIn profile. So Libby does coaching, and as she mentioned, and so you too can be coached by the amazing, inimitable Libby Moore. One more question, then we're going to open it up to Q&A with our audience, Lib. So I asked you about this ahead of time about Oprah interviewing Harry and Meghan recently. And, that story, in essence, is about bullying. Meghan felt bullied, and it's about abuse of power, isn't it? When people try to demean or diminish someone else. So I wondered, we both watched the entirety of that interview that Oprah did. I wonder if there were any surprises for you, what your reaction was to it. What were your thoughts about it?
Well, first I want to say these are my thoughts. It has nothing to do with Oprah or what her thoughts are. I have no idea. So I just wanted to be clear. I'm only speaking for myself. I love the interview. I thought it was fantastic. I feel that they are so brave and courageous to come out and say what they said, because again, and so that's number one. And I feel they're free. I feel that interview freed them and freed a lot of other people. And even if the royal family doesn't think so, I think it actually helped free some of them as well, because the most surprising thing to me was the firm. And I never thought about it that way, because we're presented with an image where the royal family is making the decisions and everyone's making their own decisions. You don't think about anybody behind the scenes. You really don't even think of it as being a lot of people back there that aren't being of service in the household in some way, or like PR or something like that. But I thought, oh, that makes sense. I don't think that Queen Elizabeth has a cell phone that she's calling. I imagine someone saying so-and-so's on the line. And as we both know, working with people, there's gate people, and there's gates to these people. And in some cases, not all, in some cases, those gatekeepers really can close the gates if they don't want people coming through those gates to the people they're working with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
so, yeah.
And recently there's been news that the royal family is now planning on hiring a diversity czar.
Right.
That's what they're referring to. So essentially, if that happens, she's affected change.
That's
Meghan
right.
and Harry have affected change. So sometimes you have to disrupt in a big way, don't you? And wow, did they ever, right?
Usually you do. I don't know any big change that happens easily. People are like, yeah, I just changed that law because, I'm just sitting here hanging out. No, you have to go up against things that are very uncomfortable. I really admire them. I think they're courageous. I think they're fantastic. And I think they're going to do really well. They freed themselves. That's what I feel. And
I think they freed others. I think they freed other people in the community who are bucking up against authority, a big time authority. And I mean, it was brave for Meghan, but wow, how brave for Harry.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
I'm super excited and proud of both of them.
Oh, look who's here. Lucy Brazier is here in our audience. Hi, Lucy. Lucy's So Jen, let's talk about questions, comments for Libby. Bring them on up on the screen. Hey, Lucy, if you have anything to ask, we were just talking about Oprah's interview with Harry and Meghan a few weeks back. So much to talk about. Teresa saying that this is so relevant to me today as she had her annual evaluation and communicating salary expectations with her executives. It's hard to do.
Yeah. Good for you, Teresa. And the thing is like, say it. What do you want? What I find that a lot of people, here's a story I want to share. So at one point while working at Harpo, I was managing a team of 5 assistants. And one of the people on the team, they were all excellent. They were all much better at doing the job than I was, by the way. I was great, I feel like, at being a chief of staff and liaisoning between Miss Winfrey and all the points that I needed to liaison with, and managing this team of extraordinary executive assistants who were much better at doing the task than I was. People are always surprised by that, but it's the truth. I wanted to hire people that were better than I was for the role I was hiring them for. So one of these women on the team always got an excellent review. Here's the top of the raise, whatever that range was. Here it was, here it is, here's your bonus. And she said, and I'm paraphrasing because it was a long time ago, she said, thank you, I appreciate that. And I just want you to know that I think I'm going to have to start looking for another job. I was like, wait, what? Why? And she said, I'm not making enough money here. Like, it's just not at that time. And I said, oh my God, you never even mentioned this to me. I just thought you were happy. I'm going within the ranges that were given, for being excellent. Da, da, da. And by the way, Harpo paid very well. And it's really a lot that people are taking care of. So I said, well, what do you want to make? So back to what we were talking about, or Teresa's evaluation, it's like, you need to know, what do I want to make? What is the right number for the role? Mm-hmm. And for a lot of assistants, people are getting let go. So now it's like, oh, you're going to manage not only these 2 VPs, but this one also. Now you're managing 3 people. And most of those people who are saying, okay, we'll just have that assistant do it, have never been an assistant in their life. They have no clue what the role is. They're like, she'll do it. She's really good at that job.
Right.
And the salary isn't even increasing. So back to the story, I said, what do you feel is the right salary for this role? And she told me, and I said, okay, I'm going to get this for you. And I did. And she was happy and I was happy. But I think that what people do, some, not all, they think, God, I wish I was making more. I can't believe they're not giving more. They see how hard I'm working. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're in a manager role or director of HR, you've got so many things on your plate. You're just trying to, in that job, my head wasn't even bobbing above water. I feel like I had a little paper straw above the surface and I was getting air that way. Like, I was just constantly buried. So one has to have the courage to say, this is what I want. This is what I'm doing. Here it is on paper for you, or in an email. Here's a document, and this is what I want. I mean, most people aren't going to say, forget it, you're fired. And if they do, then you're not meant to be there anywhere, and there's some other job that's going to pay you twice as much and really appreciate you.
That is so true, Libby. And Lucy just commented about that she feels like it's Groundhog Day from the last recession, that assistants are, because you're so competent and capable, of course, leaders are going to give you more and more responsibility, but it becomes unfortunately, the leaders are not saying, and you know what, because we're giving you all that added responsibility, we're of course going to change your title so it's responsive to what you're actually doing, and we're going to pay you money. It becomes important that you don't get if you don't ask, that we have to ask. So beautiful. Hey, Lib, would you share that about the panel you were on this afternoon with all of those people? I think that it's appropriate to say what they were sharing, if you would.
So I did a live panel discussion this morning. It was a webinar with Amy Stevenson. You can find her on LinkedIn, and she is a recruiter with a firm called Human, and it's all about really treating people as people. Let's stop looking at people almost as just talent or products that you're trying to place in a company, but treat them as humans, get recruiting back to humans. So she does a monthly hackathon with HR directors, chief people officers. It's based out of the UK. Lucy, I'm definitely going to connect you with her so that you could be on the panel. and she does it once a month. And basically these HR directors were saying that the CEO, the CFO is looking to them like, okay, what's our plan for going back to the office? Are we going back? Are we not? What's the hybrid plan? And they're going, oh my God, and this one HR director said, she said to the CFO and the CEO, it's not what are we doing? It's not what is HR doing? It's what are we doing? This has never happened in the history of the world. We're not trained on what to do right now, and we're not medical experts. So as a team together, CEO, CFO, the COO, whoever is in charge, as a team, let's come up together what the plan is and implement it and say, we don't know if this is it. We're going to try this, see if it works.
Right.
Test it. It's a petri dish right now. There is no, oh yeah, this is what we're doing or we're not doing.
There's no rule book.
There's no rule book. So let's do it together. That was the big thing. And then the other thing is how obviously burnt out and stressed out these HR teams are and the people team, in addition to just the stress of a position like that. Anyway, right. Now you've got COVID, and even coaching people, like with one company I work with, I said, I will not work with your company unless you, the chief people officer, and your team will do coaching with me first. Like it's just included in this monthly retainer, right? Like because you guys will never give yourself a coaching call because you're like, no, I need to give it to these people. But I insist that I must work with you guys first. Mm-hmm. And so you can get all that out and vent and, clear it out. And so anyway, and they're just maxed out and stressed out. They're the essential workers of corporate world that are just fried, and they're not allowed to even say that they're fried because they're the ones trying to hold up everyone.
And so important for everybody on this call to hear that, to get revalidated that if you see things, ways to bridge and collaborate with HR, please do speak up because they are in chaos. I'm hearing that from HR folks all over the United States. Libby just heard it from folks in the UK. So Libby, tell us about Lovex Global and the work you're doing. I know it's very much of your heart about bringing love into the workplace. Let us hear about it and how can we get involved?
Okay. Lovex Global is bringing the energy of love back into the workplace. That's how it originated. It really came out of a meditation, which I think it was in 2016 when I started asking in meditation, how do you coach a company as if it's an individual? And what came is you teach people how to love themselves, period. That's it. You remind people how to love themselves. And when you can get them in that place, they're aligned with their higher self, higher intelligence, whatever you want to call that. And when that person comes into the office or is working on something, that energy is rippling out to their coworkers, to the work product, to the clients, and so on. It's a ripple effect. So when you have the X it's to the X power, it's exponential. So if Bonnie, Jen, and I are doing it, it's to the third power. If we've got 50 people doing it, it's this love experiment essentially to the 50th power and so on. And the more people you have doing it, the more powerful it is. So it changes companies from the inside out based on the personal transformation that the employee is working on in their own life.
Well, without giving away a state secret or anything, could you share an example of a transformation that you saw with someone who practiced this or did this?
Yes.
I'm so curious.
So there was a person that I spoke with at a company that I work with who was really not in a good place. Like really, when I first heard about it, I thought, I don't know if I'm the person to do this. It sounds like more of a psychiatrist, psychologist, maybe. But I'll do an intro call because she said, I really feel like you can help this person. Will you just talk with them? And I always do an intro call because I'm not the right fit for everyone. The way I coach, who I am, my energy is not the right one for everyone. So we do an intro call to see if we're a good fit, if I'm right for them and vice versa. Mm-hmm. I talked to this person and something energetically said, yeah, this is not like this person can receive this. Long story short, we worked together on a weekly basis for, I think it was 4 to 6 months, maybe 4 months. And it wasn't, ultimately I said, this is not breakdown. This is a breakthrough. You've had a breakthrough. And through using these simple Fisher-Price exercises on a daily basis of getting back to self-love and loving themselves, a dramatic change happened. And they're in a healthy, fantastic, doing well at work, got promoted, doing well in their relationship. So again, I don't feel like it was, I gave them any magic thing. I simply reflected back to them who they already are, beautiful, good person, and gave them these simple Fisher-Price exercises on how to implement love, self-love in their own life on a daily basis. And it starts with the deep breath, slow exhale, by the way. It's you can call it meditation, 3 deep breaths, slow exhales. It gets us out of our head, our thinking mind, and up into alignment with our higher self, God, source, universe. And when you're in alignment with that portal of energy, every answer, solution, creativity, inspiration, idea, what you need to do next is right there. And it just, boom, plops in.
How cool. Well, Libby is available to you for coaching. Anyone on this call can reach out to Libby and investigate that if you are feeling like that would be useful. I'm sure you would say to trust their instincts, right, Libby? What advice would you have in terms of if they're looking for coaching?
Well, yeah, it's really guiding people back to their instinct, their intuition, their higher self, higher consciousness. There's so many different words for it, that inner GPS system.
Yeah.
Some people I work with call it God. Some people don't believe in any of that and they call it something. They're like, I think there's something, a higher power or their higher intelligence. So in the deep breath, slow exhale, when you don't know what to do, if you can just take a deep breath in through your nose, slow exhale through your mouth or nose, that is the gateway into the information that you need.
Well, Claudia's comment was just up on the screen, how Libby was our guest, Vicky's and my guest on our speed mentoring program, which the replay of that is on my YouTube channel. So you can listen to, even this replay will be out there tomorrow or later today. And if you're interested in having Libby talk through even more about the breathing, she does that on that episode. So I certainly hope you will check that out. Libby, as we move to wrap up, do you have any final thoughts for our audience today?
Oh, I would just say, one, nature is the new corner office. Get out into nature as much as possible. I say nature's the new corner office and the truth is in the trees. Just getting out there, and that's where a lot of you will get aligned. And continue doing the deep breath, slow exhale as much as possible. It sounds so simple, but I promise you, the more you do it, the more clear your thinking will get. The more inspired you'll get.
I had heard you say nature is the new corner office. I hadn't heard the truth is in the trees line.
That came to me the other day.
Did it really? It's new. Okay.
Going in my head, and the truth is in the trees. I thought, that's right. It really is.
That is wild. Oh, Libby, I know that everyone on this call has learned one or more things that they can take away with them into their work lives, which is, this year has been so chaotic and stressful, and we need each other. We need to get together in sessions like this. And I urge everyone listening to say what you need. If there's any theme of today, there's such great stories about say out loud what you need, whether that's money, your flexible schedule, whatever it is. Life is far too short to not do that. So with that, Jen Wilner, thanks for your help from behind the scenes. For everyone on this call, I hope you will check out betheultimateassistant.com for training opportunities. As you move forward, to say what you need. Lucy Brazier's on this call. She's got some amazing programs coming up. We love you, Lucy, and thank you so much for everything you do. The new launch of Executive Support Magazine, and all the efforts that Lucy has going. Go to executivesupportmedia.com and libbymoore.com. We thank you, Libby, so much for everything you do for the community and for the world. God knows we need more love in the world. So together we can make this thing happen. We know how powerful assistants are. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Bonnie and Jen. And thank you, everybody who showed up today. I really appreciate it. I wish I could type and talk at the same time. There's so many people.
I know. It's so hard to do with people from all over the world. See you next week. Oh my gosh. Let me just say this. Next week, I'm sure many of you are troubled as I am over the, Asian hate events that are happening all over the world. I've asked one of our treasured BTUA students to come in to speak next Wednesday, about that. She is Tiffany Nien from Houston, Texas, and she will be our guest next Wednesday on Heads Together to talk about Asian assistants in our workplace and what is happening and how can we make it better. So thank you. We'll see you next week.